Hello and welcome to Pisces Moon Astrology. I'm your astrologer, Kate Leonard, and I'm excited to explore the stars with you. Hi everyone! Welcome to the very first and long-awaited, long ago promised bonus episode. Thank you for being here. Thank you for following, liking, rating, sharing, doing all the things. And I'm going to get right into this because I've been promising this bonus episode forever. And what I'm going to talk about very, very briefly is why sometimes it seems like astrology is wrong. I cannot tell you how often I hear this, especially I have clients who come to me for one-on-one consultations who, like, a family member bought them the consultation for their solar return, aka birthday, or, something like that. And they're like, look, I'm here because, I was given this as a present, but I don't really believe. And when I probe that, it generally turns out that they don't believe because they don't feel that the astrology is accurate. They'll listen to a podcast like mine, or they'll go on one of the apps, or, watch a YouTube video, and it just doesn't hit. It just doesn't hit. And I get that. I totally get that. And I'm going to talk to you about why it's not the astrology that's wrong. It's how we're applying it. So one little caveat, astrologers can be wrong. I think I'm really good. Most of my clients think I'm really good, but nobody's perfect. And there are times where I just interpret a thing wrong, or I miss how important a certain angle is in your chart, or an aspect, or something like that. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen. So what I'm saying, let me be really clear, is that astrology is always right. Our interpretations may not be right, but bigger than that is we're not using it correctly. So let me make this clear. Let me get to the point. I tell you guys every single week, look at your natal chart. Your natal chart is a snapshot of the sky at the time of your birth. It is the blueprint of your life. So when I'm talking about the transiting planets, that energy is available to all of us in some way to some degree. Okay. But the reason I tell everybody to look at their natal chart is because what really matters is what house in your natal chart is being affected by the transiting planets. And also, what planets of yours, which planets in your natal chart are being hit by that energy, right? So it's very complex to apply the transiting planetary energies to our own lives. This is one of the reasons for anybody who can possibly afford it. I really recommend, if you don't see an astrologer for anything else, get one professional reading done of your natal chart so that you understand it in depth. My natal readings are 90 minutes long. I give you so much information that your head is spinning sometimes. We video them, so you get to go back and play it back. I want everyone to really understand their natal chart so that then they can, listen to a podcast and get a deeper understanding of how that's going to apply to them. Let me give you an example. On June 14th, Jupiter, the greater benefic, the planet of blessings and expansion and wisdom and luck and spirituality, all great stuff, right? It went into Cancer, its sign of exaltation. That is the most powerful position Jupiter can be at. And my podcast, of course, was about wow, this is a year-long transit. We're going to get all these blessings. It's going to be really powerful when it first moves in. It's amazing. That's what I told y'all. Yep, that's what I told you. I had the worst week. Oh my gosh. It was bad. I'm not going to even go into all the details because who cares, right? Let me just tell you, when I say it was a bad week, I don't mean it's like my hair didn't look good. All right. I lost my favorite lipstick. Though those things happen, I'm talking a bad week. And this was during the week of this greater benefic, the biggest blessings possible. And I had the worst week. My chart had transiting Mars, squaring my natal Mars. A square is a difficult, like the most difficult angle. Mars, the lesser malefic, bad guy. Squaring, bad angle, my Mars, bad guy, right? So when you get these squares, Mars on Mars, you know how I say he's either the noble warrior or the psycho killer? Yeah, I wasn't getting the noble warrior, okay? What else was going on? Saturn was going on. That's the greater malefic, the greater bad guy. Saturn was squaring my Saturn. Do I need to say more? I had both bad guys transiting, the ones going around in the sky, making bad angles to my bad guys. So, looking back on that week now, it was horrible. Okay, but I can see that some blessings happen, and fortunately, Jupiter stays in a sign for a year, so all is not lost. I still have time to reap the rewards of Jupiter now that Mars has moved on and Saturn's going to retrograde back into Pisces for a little bit and get out of that square with my Saturn. He's going to move back in though, and that's a 2.5 year square to my Saturn, Saturn to Saturn. Oh my goodness. Anywho, so looking back on it after I got out of that nightmare week, I mean, I could see that there were blessings, there were good things that happened. It's just that the bad things were really loud. Then I was talking to a friend of mine, and she also had a dreadful week that week, like losing jobs kind of weeks. This is the kind of stuff we're talking about, right? Like really objectively, it was not a great fun time. We looked at her chart, and Mars was going through her career house. Mars separates things, ends things, destroys things. Yeah, that pretty much wrapped it up. So, how did she experience that week? Not super good, right? There was a job she liked that she didn't expect to lose, that she lost. And that kind of overshadowed anything else that was going on. All right. So it's not enough when we're talking about these transits. Remember that any astrologer, like I'm doing a weekly podcast at this point. I hope to be doing more very soon, but right now it's a weekly podcast. I'm pulling out what I think is some of the biggest, loudest energy of the week that I can share with everybody. And I tell you over and over again, look at your natal chart. Where is this impacting your natal chart, right? And so you're never getting in a general kind of reading, you're never getting the like, oh, but this is hitting your Pluto, or this is making a square to your Venus, or something like that, right? That's why you've got to understand your natal chart really, really well so that the information you're being given about the transiting planets can be applied to your specific chart. The bigger energy is available to us. I really want to stress that. Like I said, looking back at my nightmare week, there were some good things. There were, absolutely. But those were not what I was feeling and what I was focused on that week. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that helps you kind of make sense a little bit about why sometimes it feels like, astrology is kind of a hit or miss kind of thing. It's not. It really isn't. I have read, I don't know how many charts at this time, hundreds, thousands. I don't even know. I don't know how many charts I've looked at. And I will tell you, it is profound, it is deep, it is real. Can I make an error? Can any astrologer, make a mistake, interpret something wrong? For sure. In general, we don't. We get pretty on it. And The astrology is not the problem. We might be, when we're listening to general readings, that can be a problem, but the astrology is never the problem. I actually found out, oh, you want to talk about not a great moment. I actually found out that a really, really good friend of mine had stopped listening to the podcast. And I mean, it's not like my friends are required to listen, but I was like, wow, I thought you would be interested. I thought you would want to listen. And this friend said, well, I did, but last week what you said didn't happen for me and it made me really sad. And so, I mean, obviously, that is certainly not my goal ever, ever, ever. But it was because that friend didn't yet know how to work with the more general energy and apply it to their own chart. Okay. The other thing that I want to say that can sometimes go wrong is really, really, really learn about the idea of ruling planets. Okay, that's also really helpful in getting accurate understanding. So let's say Venus is involved, and maybe Venus is in your, seventh house of relationship, and your seventh house is maybe Scorpio, which Venus doesn't rule, right? So yes, Venus is going to have impact on that house she's transiting through. But Venus also is going to have some impact on the houses she rules. So look and see where her houses are. Where's Libra? Where's Taurus? Okay. Sometimes you'll feel the energy there also. It's usually not primary. We usually primarily feel it in the sign and house that the transiting planet is going through. But it can be that there are times when you feel it additionally in the houses ruled by that planet. Okay, so sometimes being aware of that can also help you make sense of the reading. And now this has gone way too long. I just wanted to jump in and hopefully help you kind of start to make better sense of the information that I give on the podcast and that anybody who's doing general readings will be giving, all right? So I hope that was helpful. And until later this week, because I will still be coming on with my normal weekly upload on Thursday, until later next week, go out and seize the energies of the stars. This is my wish for you always. Talk to you again in a few days. Bye.